Well, here we are, and a big night for Aussies at the Oscars. We've done well with all those Mad Max wins. Tom, though, let's not bury the lead. Big night for Spotlight, and big night for you, who called it in the last sort of 30 hours. You came out with the call. Tom, throw away.
Thank you, Matt. It was a real daredevil thing to do, because I really was not a champion of Spotlight throughout the whole year. I was switching around back and forth, so I wasn't quite sure I believed the whole Spotlight thing. And then I've just been hearing so much love for it here in Los Angeles among actual voters that I said, look, this ballot is designed to get the consensus pick. This is the consensus movie. I've got to do it. And I know I took a lot of abuse from you guys in the pre-show and elsewhere, but look, we saw the consensus movie win 2 years in a row. Marcus, you went for 2 years in a row with the most divisive movie, right? And you went with Boyhood and Revenant. And I think what we're learning now is you just can't do that.
Oh, I didn't know Boyhood was divisive. I thought Birdman was the divisive one.
I disagree with that assessment. I think that's
I agree with it.
I feel like
No. Let me make the case here. By far, Boyhood either got, oh, I just love Boyhood, it was so great, or, oh, God, that thing is so overrated, it's such a TV movie, there's nothing to it, blah, blah, blah. It was that. People either saw enormous greatness in it or no greatness at all.
But I know people, I don't know anyone who hated Boyhood. I know a lot of people who hated Birdman.
I hated Boyhood. I'm sorry. I just thought it was boring. There was just nothing going on for me.
All right, but let's get to the other big story tonight, and that is, how the F did Mark Rylance beat Sly Stallone? Who's got a theory here?
Oh, it's easy. It's the industry was trying to tell us for weeks that Rylance was their guy. He got the SAG nomination. Stallone didn't. He won BAFTA. Stallone wasn't nominated there either. So Stallone had the feel-good story, and he won the Critics' Choice, and he won the Golden Globe. But we weren't paying attention to the fact that he didn't have any industry support, and he was the only nominee for Creed.
But we weren't paying attention to it, Daniel. Wait a minute. No, Spotlight didn't open in the UK till very, very, very late. I mean, and that often impacts their awards in a way that we don't see here. Dallas Buyers Club wasn't even nominated for lead actor or supporting actor because it had debuted so late there, and that didn't mean anything. The fact that McConaughey and Jared Leto were not there. So, and in the case of Creed, it wasn't the SAG Nomcom didn't see Creed.
They had time to see Creed. I mean, we've seen with people like Christoph Waltz, with Inglourious Basterds, or not Inglourious Basterds, with Django Unchained, that opened late. They hadn't gotten a chance to see it. They didn't nominate anything from that film. But I mean, Creed opened, and it had been getting good reviews already by the time they could have seen it. So I think it matters more than we gave it credit for.
Pete Hammond says, and he said he did the first SAG Nomcom screening for EQ and ate it for Creed, and it was so late into the whole voting process that he said he didn't think it had a chance. That's his recollection, and he moderated at least one of them. Anyway, but still big jaw droppers here. Chris, pipe in. What do you think of tonight?
Well, I agree with Daniel on the. We've said all along, is this SAG thing going to mean anything about Stallone? And it turned out it did. The thing about Rylance was that we said 3 or 4 weeks ago, after all groups had nominated, he was the only person nominated at every single award show. We just didn't pay attention to it. And then we kind of brushed off BAFTA because while he hasn't lived in England a lot lately, he is from there and is one of their guys. So we just thought, oh, here's a case of BAFTA going for a British guy. So it was a shocker. Ex Machina was the biggest shocker, though. I think it was in either 4th place or 5th place on the website for visual effects.
That one blew my mind. I was going between two, The Revenant or Star Wars. Revenant or Star Wars. It ended up being my 5th place choice, so I give up next year.
I had Rylance in 5th place, so I'm. Oh.
With Ex Machina was my come to Jesus moment. I was just like, oh, it's all like everything, all bets are off. Nothing means anything. Up is down, left is right.
Inside's out.
Exactly. Outside's in. There was just no There was just no.
What more appropriate results should we have had in this kind of a year? Just wild things happening here and there.
We should have known that, and I almost changed. The only change I made in the last minute was dropping "Girl in the Water." What an idiot am I, right? Well, I did change Spotlight a couple days ago, but the last minute, that kind of stupid thing before the prediction center was turned off, I dropped "Girl in the Water" and I went with the Landsman thing. And I was a fool because they obviously watch these things because Stutterer won. Girl in the Water was the most poignant. Chris, you were right about Bear. I mean, that thing.
Well, I wish I'd followed my own advice on that one.
Oh, you didn't pick it to win?
No, I went after our chat the other day. I was just so convinced after listening to everybody that it was Sanjay because of the Pixar. Because most people had seen it, even if it wasn't even on the screen, wasn't in their screening process. They might have seen it in the theater, but I did pick Girl on the River and I did pick Stutterer, so those were three really, really tough categories. I was thrilled that I got 2 out of 3.
And I'm kicking myself that I didn't go with Writings on the Wall for song, because when the minute that happened, I was saying it this morning to Paul and others that Keith Simonton, who had our best score last year among experts, was saying, they're not going to go for the Lady Gaga Diane Warren song. They haven't seen that movie. The Writings on the Wall was everywhere. It's the only song in that lineup that they know. And she said that's why it's going to win. And
there were 2 big reasons why I think, at least I didn't think it had a shot. One was the Globes, where it won. They have a horrible prediction rate on song in particular. I mean, that's maybe their worst category. And secondly, in 55 years of James Bond movies, a lot of those songs did get nominated, but the only one to win was Adele, who was on such a huge role at the moment, and it was a great song.
Yeah,
and had a ton of Oscar nominations that year. Skyfall.
Going back to the Globes. Oh, sorry.
No, that's it.
The Globes have been right with songs. I think the last 2 years with Adele and then with Glory. So.
But those were easy picks. In years when it was a little tougher, they're awful. A lot of their songs don't even get nominated.
That's true.
You know what was really screwy this year? Those damn BAFTAs. Jesus. Not only did they lead you guys astray with Revenant, but they led me astray too with Revenant in those sound categories. I looked the other day through the last sound categories. Over like the last decade, they had correctly predicted absolutely every song category, even when it was a weird, illogical thing. So I said, all right, even though I had Mad Max, and I said, the loudest movies always win, it's clearly going to win here. I said, no, I'll follow BAFTA. And, of course, I followed them right off a cliff.
I think Marcus did, too. We all, and the sound editors and mixers didn't help us either. Those guilds really didn't help much.
I was saying for weeks.
Much stock in the guilds necessarily, because I mean this is an industry-wide thing, and the loudest song or the loudest film usually wins those sound categories. But those combined with BAFTA, I mean it was BAFTA. It's like they have the same voting system basically as the Oscars, where the entire membership votes for the winners. So I thought, okay, they like The Revenant, they're going to give it that too. Oh well.
When it lost those, I texted Marcus. That was like an hour into the show, or hour and 20. And I just said, if Revenant couldn't win sound, I don't think it's winning picture.
I knew it was a death knell right then. I knew Spotlight was going to do it. Yeah.
When it didn't pick up one of those extra tech categories that I thought it might get, like editing or a sound category, they were just kind of even as far as what we thought they would get. That's when I was like, this isn't good.
Now that we know Spotlight won picture, looking and we know Stallone lost, isn't it kind of weird that they didn't give it to Mark Ruffalo in supporting? If they weren't going to go Stallone, and they knew they were voting for Spotlight for picture, it's Mark Ruffalo's 3rd nomination. He's really well liked in the industry. I think that's a little bit of a surprise now that we know how the board is laid out.
And that's why I had Rylance in 5th.
Right, and it's a surprise for this reason too. Rylance portrays a traitor. A sympathetic traitor in a way, but still a traitor. It's the problem that the Americans has at the Emmys, right? Is like they're not going to vote for this show and root against America. And it's such an understated, underplayed performance. Very, very quiet performance. And the movie has not performed well at the Oscars otherwise. I'm not sure that they had all seen it or showed it a lot of respect. Also, Mark Rylance does have a big following among the actors, but out in New York, on Broadway, where he's seen and he's won Tony Awards. I wasn't sure that it had translated here. I just didn't buy the whole Rylance thing. Well,
in 40 years of Spielberg movies, only one actor's won, and that was Daniel Day-Lewis, and you know, he's king of the Oscars. So that was another reason. I had Mark Rylance in third, so it wasn't that bad, but I had Ruffalo in second.
Wow.
I think that, like, in some ways, the biggest weakness of Stallone was that he might not be viewed as a serious actor by the Academy. That he's, you know, like, he's not this great actor or anything. It's just a, like, one-note performance from the kind of performance he's done before, whatever. Mark Rylance is the sort of anti that. He's the thespian, Tony Award-winning, like, veteran sort of in the bunch. Like, he was sort of like the veteran that answered Stallone's weaknesses in the race. Nobody's
going to remember this performance or this win. Even 1 year from now, we're going to be like, who won the Oscar last year? Was it Stallone? It's just so baffling to me. And you know what? He did not get a standing ovation. I rewound it to watch. He did not. Sylvester Stallone gets an ovation when he goes to the bathroom. So how could he have lost this? I don't understand.
Stallone looked devastated on that shot of him.
I'm really mad about that.
Heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. I mean, I blame myself. You know, my dad's been sick, and I knew this was going to make him really happy. So I was kind of maybe a little overconfident, and I really thought that if somebody was going to take Stallone down, it was going to be one of the three from the Best Picture nominees. Mm-hmm. And that's your big, like Chris was saying about Mark Ruffalo, there's your big point, your big indicator as far as what's going to win. So I had him in 5th place. But I will say, I love the Tony Awards, so I've seen him win awards in the past. This was the most likable he's ever been.
Oh yeah,
running back there to
hug, gets up there and reads a poem. So I mean, you know,
running back there and hugging Steven Spielberg before he goes up, it was very uncharacteristic of him. So good for you, out of the male actors, for being the better, more enthusiastic
I think
winner.
about it too, and we probably need to move on. But he did have. I mean, never underestimate a catchphrase. I mean, like you said, everybody comes up to him now and says, you know, would it help? Which he said, you know, probably a dozen times in that movie. So never underestimate those kind of things. They're memorable, at least at the moment.
It certainly didn't help Stallone. Yo, Adrian!
And back to Best Song for 1 second. Lady Gaga killed it on the ceremony. Yeah. If they had voted for that after the performances, Sam Smith was not very good at all.
I love Sam Smith, but his falsetto though was a little squeaky. I don't know. Like, he's usually so great. Maybe it was the pressure of the Oscar performance, because he's an amazing vocalist, but not so much tonight.
It was very static, his performance. It's just him standing there with not even much happening around him. It was very dry, flat. 4 minutes or 3 minutes, however long that song took, seemed like 3 hours. Like, it just
I envisioned the people in the audience, especially after both performed, thinking, did I mark him on my ballot? Maybe I should have marked this other song. You know, they're sitting there wishing they had their ballots back.
Yeah,
I thought, I don't know what was going on with the camera during Lady Gaga's. It's like they were having some kind of difficulty. The cutting was a little weird, but
they're trying to win the Emmy for best editing.
Yeah.
Well, from a show perspective, I think we all were upset. You can't possibly. I don't care what level show it is, but the Oscars are the kings. If somebody's in a movie that's in a category, you can't have them present that category. It's just awful. I mean, Ryan Gosling did get to present to his director and co-writer. But what if it hadn't been them? What kind of devastated face would he have had? And then who was the other one? Oh, Cate Blanchett had to do that.
2 films, and they both lost.
And Buzz and Woody were presenting to their old writer.
Yeah.
But good for Ryan Gosling and the writers for making Russell Crowe likable for the first time. Like, that was the most likable he has ever been. Like,
he wasn't even likable. I don't know what Russell Crowe you saw, man. He was.
I liked it.
That was funny.
Yeah.
I
thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, they had Ryan Gosling play the jerk in that comedy duo, so it really, really brought Russell Crowe up, and it was really, really nice.
He's like, I only have 1 Oscar. What are you talking about?
reverse typecasting on the two of them.
Yeah.
The two things I will say about the show that I liked, because I don't like to just be negative, the way that they technically presented visually and the way it was put together, the 4 acting awards, I just thought was wonderful. The way they had the 5 images.
Hated it.
And the camera movement across them, and then the clips, I just thought those were great. And the memoriam was much better than it's been in the past couple of years.
I like the clips, but I thought the camera movement, as you know, the presenter is trying to follow the camera as it's trying to go back and forth. That looked.
I love that. Just for the being inventive, not being so static.
Well, they could have cleaned it up a bit. Better conversation for the person standing there to say than this gushing general crap that is just has no content. That's what I find annoying. It's like, all right, we already have to go through all the clips, the kind of the blah blah blah, and then they heap more blah 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 on there. It's like, oh, just so that they could do that camera thing.
And I think this was highlighted perhaps because certain elements of the show were so dry and flat and didn't work. But playing off the speeches seemed particularly early this year, particularly loud, the music they used. Ride of the Valkyries, let's not have that one again as a playoff music. It just does not sound good as someone's cutting off their speech. There was some really nice... Like, people were just getting to the important part of their speech, and they started playing them off at quite, I feel, rude moments. And tonight's show, the speeches were probably the best part of the show.
In your redo, they should have just stopped, because he wasn't going to stop.
No.
I think the people would have...
history.
I think the people would have rushed the producers and the crew if they had played off Morricone. He was obviously they were having to translate, and he was going slow. And I just thought, if they play him off, they're gonna have a riot here.
And what a great standing ovation he got! Like, how amazing was that? Like, that sort of was in the level of Leo, like Leo's win. Yeah.
And they didn't play off Leo.
The whole ticker tape thing didn't work. There they were running the thank yous along, and they're all just up there again. He's thanking every name. Nobody paid any attention to that. They all just came up there with their lists.
Yeah.
How did everyone do? This was a bad year all around for all of us, but did anyone do well?
Daniel?
No. Oh, no. 15 out of 24. I'm sure I'm in last place.
I have 12, so I'm not...
Oh, I feel a little better.
17. I got 17 was my
score.
Score.
That's great.
I don't even know what I got. Have you run the score reports yet, Chris?
I just looked at mine to make sure the check marks were right, but I got 16. I think Marcus got 16.
Oh, look, and Charlie is here, and he's going to make the Oscars great again.
Listen, the Oscars don't win anymore, okay? I'm telling you, it's a bunch of losers. Most of the people in that audience tonight were losers. So we are going to make the Oscars great again.
What did you think about Joe Biden being on there, Tom?
Well, as you can see over there, I have a Biden for President sign that is signed by Joe Biden, and I thought he was great. Yeah, and I thought Gaga.
What your alter ego? What did he think of Joe Biden being on?
Why did they get the vice president at the Oscars? If you're at the Oscars, you go for the best, you get the president. And what is this with states have lieutenant governors also? I mean, they're just useless. We're just going to do away with them, throw them on the ocean.
I think Zach got 18 right. I think that might be the best of all of us, right?
Yeah, he switched to Spotlight.
Good job, Zach.
Yeah, he did. I think it was like the sound categories came up, and then I just tanked.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I
told you we should have stopped 6 in.
Yeah.
I got
well, we were all still mostly right.
I got killed on shorts, 0 for 3, sound, visual effects, and picture. Those, and the ones that I don't mind, like nobody got visual effects, and most people didn't get supporting actors, so I don't feel too bad about those.
Right. And last year, wasn't it the front runners of the shorts won, and this year none of the front runners won?
Correct.
We warned people because, as we said before, when the odds move over from nominations to winner phase, people were just dragging things over because they didn't know, and they were dragging in the same order, so it became a self-perpetuating These aren't necessarily really the front runners that people didn't know what to do, and we all do that sometimes. I do it all the time on the Country Music Awards. So it did help, Tom. Thank you so much. It did help to watch them, because once I watched, the ones, I just felt like, maybe some voters are actually going to watch these.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying that I thought the Bear Story one, that was probably the one I had the biggest shout over, because that just completely, I missed that completely. Even though it's a beautiful movie, I just missed that one completely.
It's just like Mr. Hurtblow. It just has the same kind of the drawing elements. It has the snob appeal that they like, Charlie, and
an animal, a cute animal,
and an animal. And I would have picked it too, but the ending was a little downcast. He doesn't get his family back. He goes up, and I thought maybe that they wanted the kind of huggy, sweet ending, which is also why I went with Sanjay and got burned.
If I would have picked the ones I actually really loved, I would have picked Bear Story, and I would have picked Stutterer. And
at least, well, we knew. I mean, I'm so glad that we proved the one odd wrong, that Body Team 12 did not win, because that was what I know. A lot of people were predicting that, but that was just, it was so obvious to me after watching it that was not going to win. It just,
well,
it was
as we talked about on the show before, earlier today and then 2 or 3 days ago, just because it says Holocaust, if it's not any good and nobody likes it, they're still not going to vote for it.
Mm-hmm.
They did nominate it.
Oh, they did nominate it, that's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad though Girl of the River won. I mean, that one is, as I said, that's one that just by the end, that's the one that leaves you the most emotional at the end.
Well, what did you guys think of Chris Rock? I loved his monologue. After that, I didn't like some of the taped pieces he did. I didn't really.
Oh my God, are you crazy, Marcus? The taped piece at the movie theater in Compton was golden. Oh my God, when he's talking about that. When he talked to that woman asking her, "Are you gonna riot?" She said, "No, we did that before, and I didn't get anything good the last time." That was the best. That was the best.
Well, the lady at the end trying to take the Oscar.
Yeah, but if you had gone to most movie theaters and asked anyone about some of these films, regardless of race, most people are gonna be like, "Nope." But
we all have that with our friends. When you say, "Are you gonna watch the Oscar?" I've never seen any of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in general, I agree with you, Marcus. Chris Rock was, I think he handled the monologue well. I think the Girl Scout cookie thing went on too long, but so it was a cute little idea. It was kind of like an Ellen DeGeneres moment.
Yeah. That's what I thought. He was trying to come up with some kind of buzzworthy, moment, social media viral kind of thing, and it just didn't play.
It didn't really, but it wasn't a really bad misfire. Like, a couple of the jokes were real misfires.
Stacey Dash, what the hell was that?
The problem with that joke, it could have been funny if they had set it up a little better, or if they had executed it a little better. But the biggest problem about the Stacey Dash joke was that no one in the crowd got it.
Yeah,
it's like no one had the context for that.
I thought he was bringing up some, comedian or sketch person or something that was going to do something, and that was his biggest bomb in his whole awards career, next to the Jude Law stuff from last time.
Did Stacey Dash even get the joke? It seemed like she was pulled in from the streets and was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on the Oscars. What am I doing? It doesn't matter. Just go out."
Yeah, I think the best joke was that off-the-cuff remark was like, "Well, I can't say anything about that after Sam Smith won because I don't want to get myself in trouble." Like it completely, you could tell it was unscripted. He just said it, and that was it. But I felt like they might have gone a little too far with some of their stuff, because it does kind of take away from, like, Rachel McAdams being a nominee when you introduce them as a nominee and somebody who should have been nominated. It just kind of drives it home a little too much.
I don't think that one was that bad. Maybe if he had said that for, like, if Michael B. Jordan had presented with someone who was nominated for Best Actor and he said should have been nominated, that would have made. But she was in a completely different category, so I didn't mind that one too much.
I didn't care for I never on any show. I like for things to have a reason, and then so many presenter pairs were just random. It's like they just put them in a room and backstage and just randomly picked 2 at a time. It just made no sense at all. They have no chemistry, no reason to be out there together.
And the banter was terrible that was written for them.
The Tina Fey Steve Carell was great, but they know each other. They worked together before. And by himself, Louis C.K. I thought was very funny, considering he had one of the worst, one of the worst categories to present in terms of the audience. He knew that and made it funny anyway.
He nailed it.
He's so good while sort of
Sofia Vergara there.
It's a good category.
Because the show is on ABC. That's why Sofia Vergara was there. That's why that Indian woman was there.
Priyanka Chopra, yeah.
Priyanka
Both on
Chopra.
ABC, and they're both not white, so they wanted them both on the show.
Yeah. Well, I think Sofia Vergara has greater assets that they wanted for the show, but
okay, we get it.
What? I couldn't help myself.
And Jacob Tremblay and Abraham Attah, it seemed like a good idea, but I mean, Jacob was too far away from that microphone. You couldn't hear a thing.
Jacob was so good last night at the Spirit Awards. He was funny. They gave him good stuff.
That reaction shot of him just like seeing the Star Wars characters and being so excited, like why couldn't he have done something with them?
Right, that would have been great.
Because he was so excited to see those characters because he just popped out of his chair. I thought it was.
And as much as I love J.J. Abrams, since we're still talking presenters, I mean, I really do. I've loved so much of stuff. Where is he really got the stature to be presenting Best Director?
No.
Yeah, right. I think so.
Again, Disney owns ABC. That's their biggest movie in the history of movies. So there you go.
Which was shut out. It was shut out tonight at the Oscars. I'm very, very angry. I thought it should have won visual effect.
Yeah.
But I think with the visual effects that I appreciate is we often say, oh, it's just the biggest always wins, the most, the loudest film, the biggest film, the most costumed film. But visual effects, they didn't go with the film that you'd usually expect to win that category. And it was a really nice, smaller film that had great visual effects. And I was really pleased to see Ex Machina win that award. I thought it was a really nice surprise.
It was a very worthy win. It was a good choice.
Yeah. How did it win, though? How did it win, though?
The vote split 3 ways and it snuck in? I don't...
There must have been split voting in that category.
But split how? See, I don't understand, Revenant and Mad Max. But
three
three
Best Picture nominees.
Mad
It's
Max,
such a cool
Revenant.
movie that they wanted to give it something. And remember, we're in an age of screeners now, so all of these people get their screeners. That movie is extraordinary. It's it's a discovery when you see it and you bond with it. So, in a way, when you think about it, it's not that surprising that they chose to give it something and put it on the map. And
I'm just thinking this through. Was it the only one of the 5 that was up for screenplay, meaning it had a little more weight?
No, The Martian was up for screenplay.
Okay, Martian. Well, that had no real shot, but the other 3 weren't.
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing, I reckon Alicia Vikander, if she was nominated for Ex Machina and not The Danish Girl, probably still would have won.
Maybe.
She won for both. I felt that for weeks, that she was, and maybe her whole year, she had like 6 movies. I think she was being rewarded for a great year. It wasn't just Danish Girl.
If I could just back to what we were talking about before with the Star Wars character, what was that? That was just pointless.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Star Wars. Yeah, that was
just pointless.
I thought they were going to present something, and they came out, and then they went away again. It was just like,
and then they just went away. I could tell like BB-8 wanted to run away because he's like, this bit isn't working, and he just wanted to run off the stage.
Their agents weren't as good as the Minions, because the Minions were able to present a category.
That's another thing. Can we please stop with the computer animated presenters? Please stop with it. It's so just ridiculous.
The point of that Star Wars thing was to recognize John Williams on his 50th nomination. So I did appreciate that. It went on a little too long, though.
They could have presented an award.
Yeah.
They could have presented Best Score, Chris, and then you would have had them react.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I would have loved to hear BB-8 try and pronounce Ennio Morricone, though.
Now that's just racist against foreign robots. That's just
Does anyone have like a prediction they're so proud? Not Tom, but a prediction that you're so proud of, because we know Tom's a spotlight. I don't have one.
Yeah, I didn't get anything right that was close. Yeah.
I'm glad I stuck with Mad Max and production design. I was very proud of that.
I was glad I changed from costume design from Cinderella. So.
I got all six. I got all 6 Mad Max predictions, so I'm sort of glad I sort of was on the pulse.
That's because as an Aussie, Matt, admit it, you just checked off Mad Max wherever it was on the ballot, and so suddenly...
Remember, it's a documentary for him. That's how he goes to work every day.
I only predicted it in the 6th I didn't predict anything it didn't. I just predicted the 6 1. So, like, I part of that I think was going to the Editors Guilds and the Production Design Guild Awards this year, Tom, and like, I feel like I got a sense that there was, like, in the tech branch, there's a lot of support for that film. There's going to be good claps and people saying good things about it. I know anecdotal evidence isn't perfect, and I just went to 2 of the guilds, and there's a lot more, but I just felt like...
everybody knows, Matt's in Sydney right now, but he was here a couple weeks ago, and we shipped, with his mother, by the way, a very charming lady, and we shipped them off.
She did her predictions last night, Tom. She did her predictions.
Uh-oh, how did she do? I hope she didn't beat me.
Not what she said. She was going to pick all the long shots.
Good.
That's what I do at the Country Music Award.
Yeah.
But we sent Matt and his mom to these Guild Awards at the Beverly Hilton, so those were fun, right? Matt, you've never done those before. Yeah.
No, I'd never done them before. Met Pete Docter at as well, and it was really cool to see him win Best Animated Film again.
How does Mad Max win 6 awards but not Best Director? Can someone explain this enough?
Yeah, no snob appeal. It wasn't pretentious enough.
Yeah, I thought that the critics would have given it that, you know, even if it didn't seem like it on the surface, the critics with all the critics awards and then the Critics' Choice going to Miller, I thought that could give it that sort of, you know, stamp of approval, but it just didn't get. I mean, flamethrower guitars just don't wow everybody.
At some point in the evening, did anybody here think, could Mad Max really win Best Picture?
I thought it, yes.
I did.
I was getting worried. Yep. I was really getting worried.
Never.
I
thought maybe director.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The same thing. Maybe director, but not picture.
Same here.
I gotta say that. Oh man, the Best Picture win by Spotlight. Tom, I am so happy you were right about that.
Thank you.
I have always crowed about how I love that movie, and I literally at the end I was doing a little happy dance, and then I realized a neighbor was watching, and so I stopped immediately, and then kept on going. But
next time, put
Freeman even open the envelope, or was it already pre-opened? Because I don't remember.
I know.
A lot of these people now, I've noticed this the past couple of years. A lot of them, because they don't want to be seen as fumbling around or whatever, while the clip package is rolling, they are opening the envelope, in that moment. When they're off, they've done their first bit, and then they're waiting for the video to quit running. So, especially on big categories, I've noticed that Meryl Streep did that a couple of years ago, right?
She opened it backstage, they said.
Yeah, that's what she did.
Right.
Yeah, because they didn't cut to the split screen in time. Yeah, for Daniel Day-Lewis.
He had an accident 3 or 4 years ago, and I think he sometimes even has to still wear a glove, but he has a pretty bad hand. So that may have been part of his deal too, but that doesn't bother me. I mean, there'll be some kind of conspiracy theory going around tomorrow that
he was in the bad.
When they had the Toy Story animated characters announcing the one category, they're announcing it live, so obviously they're not opening an envelope in that case either.
They
record those the Minions one and the Toy Story one. They've been doing this for decades. They record all of the answers. And then a production assistant or somebody tells the person in the booth or whatever which one to play.
Anybody have final thoughts here? Matt's got to run off about a minute here.
Yeah, it was a fun. The Oscar show I thought was really bad. But it was I think it was a fun crop of winners. Like Mad Max did really well with the tech categories. Leo finally won. I thought it was so great. Alicia and Brie Larson winning. I thought they were really nice winners and gave great performances this year. I like a few little sneaky wins for The Big Short and Ex Machina in there. I thought it was a really fun crop of winners, and Spotlight's one of my favorite films of the
and
year.
Then we have to remember when there are upsets in the acting categories, they tend to be in the supporting races. This is where we see, Tilda Swinton win, or Marcia Gay Harden, or Jim Broadbent, etc. So we got that this year in the supporting category, but it wasn't in the supporting category we thought it might occur. It wasn't Kate Winslet. It was over there, which is fun for us. I think one of the great things for us as pundits is that the Oscars were not that predictable this year as they have been year after year in the past. So that makes things a lot more exciting for us. That a year like this, all the surprises, while they screw up our scores, are really a good thing for what we do.
Well, as you said that, I was thinking back over those 4 acting winners. I guess maybe because 3 of them pretty much knew that they were probably going to win. They were just sort of, we've heard the same speech, they're a little blasé. Leo, I was hoping would finally open up. Would we have never guessed in our imaginations Mark Rylance would have been the most animated and interesting person on stage?
And he almost didn't come, by the way. He has a play in Brooklyn. I think the opening night was tonight or last night or this weekend or something. And he was telling the New York press, "I'm not sure I'm going to come." And Chris, we talk about this sometimes, you, Marcus, and me, and that is we know our odds and our predictions have an impact out there, and that the agents and the publicists and the rest of it. So if Mark Rylance, thank God he didn't pay attention to the odds at Gold Derby, because if that
I told Marcus yesterday, because we were wondering if he or Tom Hardy would show, because Hardy hasn't been to anything and Rylance only went to the Globes. And I said, I think this was yesterday, maybe the day before, I said, though he's working for Steven Spielberg on this movie and the next, I said, Spielberg really, really, has a deep, abiding appreciation for the Oscars. He's going to make sure that Mark Rylance is there. He's going to convince him that he needs to be there, no matter what the odds are. So I think if he'd worked for any of these other directors or producers, they might not have been there. But Spielberg made sure he was there.
It was nice to see Michael Keaton so happy to see his film win. The pressure was off. He wasn't nominated. He just seemed really thrilled. So that was nice.
Second year, because he hasn't been showing up for campaign events recently since he wasn't being nominated personally. He's a very difficult person, and in general, as we all know, and he's notorious in the industry. So I was thinking, you jerk, you're not. His co-stars were showing up, like Ruffalo, etc., for events, for these parties and things that happened around town everywhere. But he wasn't. By the way, speaking of those parties, Chris and Marcus and Daniel and I, we actually attend these things on both coasts. Let's hand it to Spotlight for running the best campaign, right? I mean, every single night in Los Angeles, there was a Spotlight dinner or event, right, Chris?
I think I went to 8 or 9 or 10 Spotlight things. That's from like September all the way till very recently. They did run. That's Lisa Yeah. They were amazing.
Let's talk about the people behind the scenes here, because you have to know these people if you're making predictions for the Oscars. Lisa Tabak was the longtime Oscar consultant for Harvey, so she is the person who pulled off the wins for The Artist and for The King's Speech. She also would represent other studios at the same time she was doing Harvey. Like, remember the year, whatever Harvey had the year of Benjamin Button, she had Paramount and was doing that. And then she's always had sometimes some of the smaller studios and clients and things. And quite frankly, I'm not sure she told Harvey she had all those things. But she had a break with Harvey a couple years ago, and she's been trying to get back on her feet to really make her mark. And we know how shrewd she is. She's the best in the business out here on this coast. I would say Cynthia Swartz is the best in the business out on the East Coast, of course. Cynthia has won 7 Best Pictures. The last being Argo, and she won Crash, she won Chicago, Shakespeare in Love, she won No Country for Old Men, and on and on and on. Cynthia holds the record for the most, and she had The Revenant this year. So a lot of us were thinking in the battle between Cynthia and Lisa, where they often square off. Cynthia, the reigning champ, now has 7, soon to be 8, but Lisa took her down. And these are the people we deal with every day. When I saw Lisa just Friday, I had written that article about I'm switching to Spotlight, and it was just a great little moment at the Publicists Guild luncheon at the Beverly Hilton Friday afternoon to have a run up. We saw your prediction and blah 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 blah, blah. And I'm very happy for her because she deserved it. She ran a brilliant and relentless campaign.
Mm. And they were all different kinds of events. It was nothing. You would go to one, and the next one would be totally different. The next one would be totally different, and they were impressive. Speaking of campaigning, Tom, how classy was it that the Oscars put your buddy Murray Weissman into their memoriam?
Yeah, it was.
I knew you would be excited over that.
There was a great deal of mystery of whether or not it was going to happen. When I saw his family on Friday, they weren't sure he was going to make it, and I just noticed on Facebook, Rick Markovitz, Murray's son-in-law and partner of this PR firm, Murray invented Oscar. He's one of the big. He is second ranked after Cynthia Swartz as the most Best Picture winners. He notoriously did 6.5. He would count Dances with Wolves as a half, but he was part of the Crash upset. Cynthia also worked on Crash, and let's also give this behind-the-scenes insight to people who were watching this. Tom Ortenberg, who had been president of Lionsgate and had listened to Murray and to Cynthia to say, all right, let's do these revolutionary things to beat Brokeback Mountain and make Crash win. Crash was Tom's movie, and every time Chris and Marcus and I would run into Tom Ortenberg, the head of Open Road thing, he was on a vendetta to get back in the Oscar race, and now with a minor studio, proved that he could do it again. And recently he's had movies like Nightcrawler and others that didn't quite get in the Oscar race, but it would get into some of the other awards. And every time I would run into Tom during this whole Derby season, he'd say, I'm going to win it. You just watch me. I've got a plan up here, and I'm not going down. And part of me was thinking when I was weighing the idea of switching to Spotlight over the last few days, I was just thinking, boy, they've run the most personal campaign, Tom and Lisa, ringing every doorbell in town, parties. They personalized the campaign experience. There were only 6,000 Oscar voters. You can meet them all, you can feed them all, you can romance them all, and I think they did a really good job of it.
One nice note was several times over the course of these 3 or 4 months, they would bring all of those reporters that were played in the movie by the stars out for different events and things. They were at the Critics' Choice, Spirits yesterday, and then you saw some of them in the audience, and I think they came on stage at the end there too. So making those personal connections, I think, really helped.
Yeah, but back to Murray Weissman for a second. Murray was our dear friend, and when Gold Derby was relaunched in 2010, we gave an award that night, and it was the only time we've actually given an industry award, and it was to Murray Weissman, the man who has distinguished himself both on the Oscar side, as I said, with 6.5 Best Pictures, and on the Emmy side. He's the one who brought those historic wins for Mad Men and for Breaking Bad to AMC, and he's done many other things. He recently also brought Amazon, the first streaming video, the top video, transparent wins, the first revolutionary awards for the Emmys there. Murray was dying of prostate cancer. He was hoping to hold on till his 90th birthday in December when it was clear he was not going to make it. I personally intervened and talked to John Solberg over at FX, and we said, you know what, let's throw Murray a 90th birthday party in advance so basically he could come to his own funeral. So it was a great event. We got all of the, and I'm very proud of PMC backing me up on this and then helping me do the outreach and getting the party planners. We threw Murray this huge event that also included our rivals like the Hollywood Reporter. Everybody got together, Deadline, Variety, AMC, which had fired Murray Weissman after those Mad Men wins in a really crazy thing, but we got them all together and did this big love fest for Murray. That's how beloved he was. And then
some of his rivals, some of the rival campaigners came.
Yes, some of the rival campaigners came. Most of them did. And what was great tonight, there was some drama of whether or not they would include Murray on the Oscar show because they don't like to put the campaigners up there, and they did, and it was a wonderful moment.
I knew you would be thrilled by that.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice note to end on.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
A little behind-the-scenes thing for Gold Derby. Everybody, congratulations on surviving. This is an exciting year. This is why we do it. We all have broken hearts over how badly we did, but on the other hand, It's okay.
Yeah. If any users
traffic, people might want to know traffic for the website was up, what, tenfold over the highest number we'd ever had?
Yeah. We had at various times more than 30,000 people coming into the site at the same time. Normally we'll have 1,000 or two at the site at one moment, and those thousands will change over all the time, so that in the course of an hour we'll have many, tens of thousands of people at the site. But what we were experiencing tonight was tenfold that, all attacking the site at the same time. The site crashed over and over. We finally got it rebooted, but it was nice that there was so much love for us out there. I wish we were better prepared for it, but beware, Derbyites, in late April, the new Gold Derby will be launched. It is a spectacular technological achievement. Wait till you see it. It's totally over-designed, newly redesigned, overhauled, new logos, new apps, new responsive coding, new mobile-friendly stuff, and it's going to be spectacular. So, something to look forward to. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Matt, for holding court here, and
no worries.
Congratulations to everybody.
Well, you too. You called it.
Yeah, good job, Tom.
We wouldn't listen.
You never listen, you dumbasses. Listen to Papa next time.
Yes, I got the one thing I wanted, so I can't be that upset. So, no.
Okay, hit the stop button, Matt. Thanks.